Hi, Per here from the Renaissance Man. Welcome back. Last video I made was to replace this tank of this compressor. It was a little bit shorter than the original one that I mistreated, so it sprang leak. It was rust in it. So I had needed to change the belt to a short one, and the distance between the compressor head and the motor shrank. That means that the protection for the belt is simply too big. So I need to make a new one. And my idea here is to mount it in these two brackets and made it out of aluminium. I have a couple of sheets of aluminium that I salvaged from work, I think it was, or somewhere else that I found, and I saved them from going into the bin. Most material, much material here is salvage material from the different things. And again, this is gonna be a project where I just wing it. I'm happy to make a project with a SketchUp drawing until I learn Fusion 360 or something. That is fun, and that's a lot of planning. You can do detailed drawing, and you know that it's going to work. That is rather fun, and make things in the same way when I was much younger and a teenager and start to do things in my dad's garage and just wing it and just try to make something and think on the line and don't take measurement when you need it and so on. And that's rather satisfying, and doing both actually. Either detailed drawing, making as a complete project, maybe buy some parts externally and so on. This is going to be just go on the line and take the measurement I need and then take it from there. So what I'm going to do is make a template out of paper, so I get the right dimension and so on and so on, and make some protection. I have some steel plates that I can weld, but I would like to do it out of aluminium. I want to buy a TIG welder for aluminium. I'm not there yet, and I'm not sure when it's going to be either. So how to put this sheet together with this one, I hadn't figured out yet, and I take it on the line. Either I rivet it, some small screws screwed together, and make some brackets inside. I don't know yet. So let's see what's happened. But let's go over to whiteboard, and I have an idea how I want to do it. So here we have aluminium plate that I salvaged at one point. It's fairly oxide, you cannot see it, but so I'm going to polish it up some way. My idea here is to make a belt protection, something like this. The compressor head with his cooling fans are behind here, and that bigger wheels is also a fan, so it needs air, of course, to pass through this belt protection. So my idea is to make some nice holes in here, and I find a guy online that renovate the bandsaw, and maybe I can find it and put it in the comments. And he had made holes in the bandsaw protection like this, and I steal that with pride. So it's actually rather easy. He did it on water jet. I don't have that kind of thing, but you're just gonna drill one hole with a hole saw and a bigger one apart, and then use the hacksaw or the jigsaw to cut it open like this. And that's gonna be a little bit old-fashioned way, and also give the airflow that is needed. We don't have any small kids, so otherwise I maybe should glue a mesh behind so you cannot put your fingers in. It's going to be sitting in a place that nobody really goes in, but it needs protection anyway. If something falls down, it could be a real mess. at the motor side, that also has a fan, the motor, but it draws the airs anyway, because it's on the back side. So it's take the flow on the front side of the motor and cool it down, and it doesn't generate as much heat as the compressor head. So that definitely needs something to help with the airflow. And then the brackets that you maybe saw on the other part gonna be somewhere here. So maybe instead of round nice shape, I maybe need to go down and round it off like this. I can mount the brackets here. But again, wing it, take a piece of paper and see what fits and how I can put it together. So let's go for it then. So I used a piece of paper. I marked out the easy part first. I measured the center from the drive hub on the motor to the pulley on the compressor head. Marked those out, measured the diameter of the two wheels, used a compass, and for you to be able to see it, I used just a green thick pen. So this is the dimension of the wheels and the position of them. I put just 2 screws through the holes here and aim that at the center of the 2 wheels, and then I can just feel through the paper where the brackets are. So I'll mark those out, and now I'm just going to try to find a nice size of the front of this belt cover that involved these two and the covering of the two wheels. So while I'm doing that off camera, and then come back how I found out how it should look like. I hope you can see the thinner blue lines here. What I did is I take a compass and made these curves and made the radius of that bend so it line up with the bracket on the tank, and the same thing here. So then I have these 2 radius done and just connect them with the line. So that was the easy part. Now it would be great just to parallel move the radius down so I can fit the bracket, but I tried that out and looks strange. So what I did is just to make a straight line from the center down to the end of a bracket, and the same thing here, and use these French curves, I think they're the proper name for it, and just made a nice appealing bend to it on the underside. I could go down, make a radius, make it more engineering but I want to get, since I'm gonna have this vent hole that is a little old-fashioned, I want to have a smoother shape, and I have an idea of make this cover. See, either if I buy a TIG welder, a problem that's going to happen in the near future, or have somebody weld it together, or maybe if I riveted. But my plan is to maybe polish this up to a high shine, and then I think this more organic rounder shape would look nicer than a more engineering squarish but round corner type of thing. So what I'm gonna do now is that at least on the paper I'm gonna mark out where I want to have these vent holes, and hopefully I can just tape this down to the aluminium plate, cut it, mark the holes, and so on. At least that's my intention. So I'm gonna do that. I have no I need to spread them out equally, so I need to find a way to do that in a good way. Would be nice to have it in a CAD and you just, okay, I want 10 vents and spread them out 36 degrees in between. But hey, we do this flight and just run with it. So let's see where we end up. Let's come back later. Now I marked out where I'm gonna have this vent hole. I hope you can see it. It looks like so in the camera at least. I just used a pen here to mark them out. They end up 10 of them. Was rather nice to have. It looked nice. So it's 36 degrees in between. I have a 60 millimeters, 3/4 of an inch also that I'm gonna make that one. And I have a 29 millimeters. I have a 21 millimeters also, 1.18 of an inch. I'm gonna make those. And yeah, and then just use the jigsaw to cut those lines. I marked them out, no fancy calculation or nothing. I use the old-fashioned one from school, 36 degrees in between. Made, take those away so it's easy to see. 36 degrees in between, started with that one, made a line around. I had took the measurement of the fan of the pulley on the compressor head, and this is the diameter of where there are no fan fins. So made no sense, actually here on the inner part of the circle. Make no part to have the opening in there. So then I just used this one and marked out the 90 millimeters hole and the 29 millimeters hole on the line. This one has a marking 90 degree in between, so I used one of those ones to line up with a line and marked this one to get an easy center point. Just laziness. I did the calculation measurement, but why not? So what I'm gonna do now is to cut this out. I'm gonna make some holes, or maybe I just need to take the punch marker and knock right through it when I lay it out on aluminium. So start cutting it out and start to cut some aluminium. Here we have it. Before I just put my taper template on with some double abrasive tape, not abrasive, with double glue tape, whatever it's called in English. Marked out outer dimension, center punch the hole that I'm gonna drill with a hole saw. So now let's see. I'm just gonna either use a file or something to get this a little bit smoother around, and then start drilling the holes. Sometimes it might be a curse that you're both woodworker and metal worker. I just tried out with a piece of sandpaper. If this would have been wood or plywood, I of course made use of sandpaper. Now it's aluminium. I can use a file, but it works rather fine with a 60 grit sandpaper. So I will try to go around this and smooth it out, and then start drilling the holes. run it at 250 RPM. Seems to work rather fine. So I just continue on making the holes. I made this table for my jigsaw from Festool a couple of years back. It's quite easy. It's very inlay for a very bigger table that I couldn't afford, and I had no space for it, and so on and so on. So what I did is I used these aluminium profiles from Bosch, but I have quite a lot of small pieces and longer pieces lying around. So I just bolted them on, and I just put a clamp down here. And then I could cut this kind of thing quite easy. So that's what I'm gonna do, and let's see if it goes well. I just use a blue marker pen to make the scribing a bit more visible, and I just cut at the scribe line. And there you have it. Gonna finish up a little bit with file this time, and then start cutting this part that I should bend around. Now it's time to cut up the edge of this belt guard. That's gonna be another front part that I just made, and then bend the edge around it. I could cut this out with a bandsaw from the aluminium plate that I have, but it's always going to be a little bit crooked, and then it makes it so much harder to put it together, either welding it or doing it in another way. So I decided to do it on my table saw, and many of you may say, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, I might, a little bit. It's a little bit of a scary moment. What I have here is a normal blade for cutting wood, and I'm gonna have a picture zoom in, but each teeth is grounded on top like that, and some are flat. I have a blade specific made for cutting aluminium, and these teeth are not bent forward, they are straight up. And that makes a difference while cutting aluminium and metal. And the teeth, see if I can take a close-up picture later on. Some of them are flat on top. Some of them looking like this. And they are designed for just cutting aluminium. So I'm going to put this blade in. I have cut aluminium one or twice before, and before I did it on the bandsaw, and it was a little bit of a scary moment. You're not really used to cutting metal on the table saw, but I later on have cut it with a normal circular saw, hand-driven one, and that works perfect. You need definitely air protection because it's very noisy, but I have high hope that it's going to turn out really well, and I'm going to use the sliding table to tie down the aluminium plate and make it nice. Time to make a cut. I have one good edge of this aluminium plate, and it's this one. So I squared this up as best I could to the sliding table, and I'm going to straighten up this side. And then I'm going to cut two, or actually I'm going to cut three pieces that is 9 centimeters or 90 millimeters wide. One for spare, you never know. since I have it up on the table. So air protection on, and I also have disconnected the machine from the dust extraction. Even if I do not start with dust extraction, I don't want to have hot aluminium pieces flying in and maybe find its way, maybe very difficult to find its way to the wood dust, but you never know. Better safe than sorry. So it disconnected and start some cuts. As I said, I only did this for try once time before, and then it scared me a bit. Now then I handle it as wood and hold it by hand, but tighten it down and it make it absolutely perfect. You're probably not going to be able to see it. Yeah, it's shiny, perfect cut. I've forgotten to mention before that this aluminium plate is 3 millimeters thick. It's way too thick actually for the purpose of a guard. It could be much thinner. This was the material I had, free, cost nothing. Has been standing there in the corner for 10 years or something. I bought this rolling machine and cutter, actually mostly for a roller. The cutter is, not that good. It should not be able to roll this, but since I don't have a full width of this one, I give it a try. Otherwise I need to go over to hammer and my railway piece there to get it into shape. So let's see if it works. Otherwise think up something new. It actually works really fine. Small increment, stepping up. And just feel the machine if it's protesting, this is too tough for me, but it works fine. So I'm happy that I be able to bend the pieces I want. I start to realize using the French curves mean that I cannot make a radius in this one. So maybe a stupid move, but let's see. I'll figure out something. But I have two nice radius that I need to bend on the top piece. So I get started. Here we have the front cover, and I marked out the beginning of a radius that I'm going to bend, and the end of it. And then we have a straight line up to here, and it starts to bend again, and it stops around here, and that is just what I'm gonna be able to get out of these. Oops, not so nice. It's just when I be able to get out of these. I let it start because it's easier to have it up on the roll and start to bend a little bit further in. And that's the first smallest radius, straight line, and the bigger one. And yeah, let's hope for the best. I believe that I'm going to be able to pull this off. So let's see. I want the radius to begin at the line. And I put that line on the center of the outfeed roll, or what you call it. And I hope, it must be like that the radius starts there, or the bending starts there. But let's see, I have to adjust it. But let's see, it's a little bit trial and error. Learning by doing. No, my mistake. It must be like the line should be under this roller, and then I stop on that other line. the big question here is when know where to stop. Yeah, let's see. Don't know what's happened here. It stops a bit, but could be that the plate is not clean and there is some old oxide on it, and that seems to change the friction of the wheels a bit. So oh, far from it. Okay, we need a lot more bending. So let's go back at it. A little bit more. What's tricky here is this piece here that I do not bend. It wants to go in. So now it's touching. See if you see. It's bending in, so that I need to massage out a little bit when I'm all done. But I need to tighten up the radius a little bit, and also learning experience here is to make sure that I roll the complete surface just as much at all places. Otherwise I probably not going to end up with a good radius. So back into the machine. Lessons learned here is when making this type of drawing or template, then at that stage I know where the radius starts and ends, because I use a compass and I had a rule of a touching and a tangent of the curve and so on. Make sure that transfer those points all the way to the work, because here I thought that the radius stopped here, just looking at the piece. That was not true. It actually stops around here. So I needed to bend and massage this in place in the vise, and of course that is not fun, and also, at least in my force, you should always learn what you're doing and get better at it. So next time, keep better track, even if it's just going for it without any real CAD drawing or whatsoever, but keep track of the basic things and it makes life easier. So I need to massage this out a little bit because it's a little bit crooked. I think I do that on the railway piece. Here we have it, half the piece done, and I managed to get it to fit rather well. There is a gap there, and it's probably due to that I at some point didn't have the piece 100% 90 degree in the roller, so that needs to be simply massaged into place while welding or however I do it. You can bend it down so it's not stiff. What's extremely hard here, that I thought it shouldn't be, is to judge when you're done. This side I needed to fit 3 or 4 times, and I bend it not as much as I should. That part I was rather certain that I also have underbent it, and I had simply bent it too much. So that's the tricky part, and probably something you need to learn while doing this kind of work. So then coming to the next piece here, that is for the French curved ones that I now in the think that's going to be tough. The nice radius was quite easy, but let's see how I managed. But I think it turned out rather well. Just find somebody that can weld it, or put it aside and wait until I get a welder. Let's go on with it. I have rolled the pieces. This part, as I said, that has 2 radius flat surface radios. I started with that one, and I think that was a good idea. That was decently easy. You need to know start and stop, and the lessons learned for next time. Mark those start and stops on your drawing and on your piece, because I end up overbend them. So after tackle that hurdle, I went into the one I made with a French curve, and I thought that this is going to be difficult, but it was not that bad actually. I had two almost good radius, so I started to roll this one and continue, since this is almost a perfect big one, so I rolled this a couple of times. It's bent down a little bit, so I tightened up the roller and went over this part maybe 2 times, and yeah, ballparked it, and it works fine. And again here, I'm not sure if this is how things just simply works, or if I do a mistake, but I bent this radius, and this flat piece ended up going in a little bit. So I only have to put it in the vise and massage it into place. So I have now 2 pieces that fits as good as they could. I'm not really sure if I should try to, because I made them a little bit. No, this is actually straight on. I tried at least to make them a little bit too long so I can trim them. They're harder to add material afterwards. This piece here seems to end up just spot on, and that one is hopefully a little bit too long. I'm not sure if I'm gonna leave them a little bit too long until start welding, or have somebody weld it, because then you massage it into place and maybe you need that extra little bit of material. So I think I need to think about that a bit, but now it's a little bit after 12 o'clock and it's time for lunch. I'm hungry, so I'll leave this for today and think about how I should do, or I should leave it and have that extra material in place and have it weld. Otherwise it turned out better than I hoped, and I definitely have decided I'm going to polish this up when I have it welded together. It's going to be welded. I'm not going to rivet it or anything else. Either I buy a TIG welder and maybe put this in hold for a month or 3 or half a year or whatever until I have it, or I try to find somebody that can help me out. But definitely the shape turned out nice, so I'm going to try to polish it up to a mirror finish, and then put some kind of stretch metal nets here in the back and see if I can hold a black one, because I think that could be good contrast to the polished material later on, and then just bolt it in place. So let's tackle this on a little bit later, either tomorrow or the day after, whatever, I don't know.